When planning the road to success, there are a few steps to keep in mind. Identifying and solving the cause, facing and embracing change, goal setting, and being accountable. We'll talk about this today on Sustainable Success with Chris Salem. New and healthier habits lead to prosperity in all areas of your life and business. Now, here's your host, Chris Salem.
Welcome to Sustainable Success. Hope everyone is having a great August. It's hard to believe here we are. God, where does summer go? But nonetheless, we hope everyone's enjoying their summer here as August is here. And want to welcome any new listeners here to Sustainable Success. You found us here at the new Lisbon platform that we've been here since January of this year, part of the Voice America Business Channel. And again, we want to acknowledge all of our existing listeners that have been with us over the 8 years, been with us from the Influencer Channel now to the Business Channel. We want to thank you. That's why we're here each and every week, bringing in subject matter experts to share their words of wisdom and insights to help elevate you and your business to the next level. If you'd like to see content on a future show, feel free to reach out to our team here at chris@sustainablesuccess.net. One of our team members will be more than happy to capture that information to see about bringing in a subject matter expert and covering that content for a future show. So again, we are all about value and being valuable to you. So feel free to reach out to us here. Today's show is being brought to you today by Alumni Direct. Alumni Direct is a new social media community platform dedicated to bringing alumni together from all different generational types and an opportunity to meet new people for the first time. Now, this is a membership program, taking out all the noise out of social media. You get to come in and generate genuine and authentic relationships with the people you choose to interact with the groups that you want to participate in. So feel free, if you'd like some more information about Alumni Direct, check us out. Check them out at alumnidirect.com. That's alumnidirect.com. And again, we want to encourage everybody that you can also follow us on Spotify, Apple, YouTube now with our audio version of the show. So those are 3 platforms. And our Facebook page at Sustainable Success 2017. That's when we started the show back in May of 2017. Over 8 years now, we've been on the airwaves. So again, feel free to follow us there or wherever you like to listen to your favorite content in terms of podcast and radio shows. You can find us on any of those channels. Encourage you to follow us there as well as Facebook. We got a great show for you today. We're going to be talking about how great leaders use ChatGPT to think in 3D. Now, most people use ChatGPT for words, but workplace leaders need to think in images, systems, timelines, and trade-offs. And in this episode, you're going to learn from our guest, which I'll introduce here shortly, how to combine AI with visual-first tools like Trimble Connect, Matterport, Revit, you name it, things that you could be using now to make AI with visuals, interpreting 3D scans as an example. So it's going to be important for workplace leaders going forward because this technology is designed to enhance and complement what you're doing. And we're going to be here with our subject matter expert here, Charles Corley. And Charles is coming in from Singapore. Yes, and it's very, very early in the morning for him doing this show. Charles is an architect with over 30 years of experience and is a director of development for M. Moser Associates. Charles has been a country head of several offices in Asia and led hundreds of workplace projects. During this time, he has pioneered virtual design and construction methodologies as well as led organizational development. And since 2022, Charles has broadened his role as an applied generative AI advisor for leadership and organizational impact, helping leadership in the AEC industry, greatly increasing their effectiveness. And without further ado, we welcome Charles Corley to the show. Charles, how are you doing today?
Great. Thanks for having me.
Great to have you here. So, let's talk a little bit about, before we get into the scope of what you're going to be sharing today about how great leaders use ChatGPT to think in 3D and to do things more than words. We'd always like to get a foundation about, from you, like what took you down this path and what got you really excited, to commit a part of your career to helping other leaders with this, with ChatGPT, AI to think in 3D.
Yeah, it's been a journey that started when, earlier to that, I was working with virtual design and construction for a great many years. So I wasn't afraid of technology, But I guess it burst onto the scene for all of us, or for most of us, around roughly November of 2022, I believe it was. So I was pretty smitten with the large language models since that time, and just used them every single day, 7 days a week for all that time up until now. So obviously the first thing you do is you experiment with it in many ways. But later I've learned to use it productively.
Mm.
So that's really the crux of the journey, is to get your hands on it and use it as much as you can, because your needs will be different from other people's, and you'll develop your own, you might call it a relationship with the technology.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So true. And like you said, I mean, people, either we're going to adapt or we're going to resist. And if we don't adapt, these are the things that can be very well, be helping us to focus on things that we're good at and letting this technology to help us in other areas that maybe we're not, but knowing how to use it strategically. So, walk us through, with leaders, like especially in your area of expertise with, corporate workplace environments, and, how you've designed, workplaces to, for people to lead better, to execute better. Why is ChatGPT going to be really a how could I say, an asset, or just like if it were another employee that they can now, I don't like the word depend on, but now that can complement what they're doing?
Yeah, well, we don't work in an industry where, at least in the architecture, engineering, and construction, and all these fields, we're not in a situation where it's maybe like law or medicine, where there's restrictive and secure issues with information. So other than a few employee records and a few financial things, we're free to use it pretty much as we like with very little restriction. Probably our only policy that you could really nail down would be that everything is a draft that comes out of ChatGPT or any large language model, and it's up to the human to vet it, check it, make sure it's correct before it gets sent out anywhere or used outside of the company in any way. But other than that, it's been brilliant to work with, and it's really a multiplier of whatever you're good at. And actually, as you mentioned, or you alluded to, it can augment what you don't know in tremendous ways.
Yeah.
Which is really helpful for us, because we are a multidiscipline sort of a company where we have engineers, strategists, cost control people, construction people, engineers of all kinds, technologists. We have a wide array of people across the globe, and they all have their own needs. But they all have to mesh together, right?
Yeah.
So when you're an architect or an engineer leading a project, you need to be able to augment what you know. And this is a brilliant way to do it.
Wow, that's fabulous. Love it. Love it what you shared to kind of, give us a horizontal look at why this is so important. So, let's just say, you're a leader, and whether if it's a leader in your industry or even a leader that could be in any industry, and they've been using ChatGPT on a, leisurely basis. They've dabbled in it, but by no means are they an expert at all. They're just, and they're not even at this point, not even using ChatGPT in ways that can enhance their own either personal skills on whatever level that is, or anything that they're working on. What would be the first thing that you would share and create awareness or recommend to a leader to start looking at ChatGPT in a strategic way and how they can think in 3D?
Well, the first thing to do is to realize that it's not like any other technology. Okay, it's a neural network. It's got different rules of the game. And so you can't be treating it like an ordinary program. You have to interact with it very closely the way you would with a human. So they need to understand that, first of all. Secondly, they need to know that they're in a good position if they're a curious person, because I found that the people who are the most inquisitive and curious go the farthest. And then thirdly, I guess you would say that if you use it every day, or use it as often as possible, and constantly ask yourself, could I use ChatGPT for this? Could I use, Claude for that, or whatever the language model that you're interested in? Could I apply it to what I'm doing now today? Do that every day.
Yeah.
So those three things would be the way I'd start, by getting them to open up to it, because I find that largely people who say that they use it a lot, I'm not talking about everybody, of course, but largely the people who say, oh, yes, I use ChatGPT all the time. When I dig a little deeper, it turns out they're really just mostly writing emails, searching for information through a report, things like that. They're not really necessarily using it in a deeper way.
Yeah. Let's talk about that a little bit more, like maybe in phases or levels, because not everybody's ready to jump in it deep. Either even if there's a fear of the unknown with it, or not knowing what to do, or making mistakes or whatever, but just kind of breaking into the process with it.
Yeah, there are a number of people, not everyone, who do approach it and say, "Oh, I'm no good with technology, therefore, no, thank you."
Yeah.
And that's always a surprise to me, because, but that's part of the curiosity thing.
Yeah.
I had an employee who's also part-time, in his spare time, he's an extreme person for sports. So he climbs mountains and does parasailing and things like this. And he's done the most with it than other people. And I think it's because he's risk adverse. He just doesn't have the risk adverse issue, I mean to say. He basically is unafraid to take chances, and he knows, well, it's not going to break. I can't hurt it. So I might as well just try.
Yeah, if it's not going to kill me, because he's already doing things that technically he could die.
So he takes chances with it, and gets the reward thereof. Because what I find is people tend to use technology in a sort of a very quick transaction. I Google something, I get the response. I input the numbers, I get the calculation. But this turns out to be something where you have to interact a little more deeply. And that raises all sorts of issues. There's some people who think they don't have time for that. There's some people who feel that they don't understand how to do that, all sorts of things. But basically, we're talking about, in a nutshell, having conversations with it. I don't even particularly like the word prompting. I have to use the word prompting, and everybody does, but prompting wasn't in my vocabulary 3 years ago, and it would be fine if it wasn't in now. But it's a convenient way to say, giving it context about what you're talking about. Because, of course, the AI doesn't have any real-world context, at least not until robots start walking around. There's no real-world context for it. So you have to give it that context. And so we take a lot of things for granted and don't necessarily give it all the context it needs to help us. So prompting helps us remember that you need to explain the background of what you're going to discuss. But then you just start a discussion. That's the key thing.
Yeah.
Don't think
it's building on what you're putting in. I mean, what you put in is what you're going to get. I mean, so it builds on that and remembers what you put in. Yeah.
Well, it can actually access a world of knowledge, but yes, it will focus on what it is you told it to focus on.
Yeah.
And so if you would imagine briefing an employee, yes, you could treat your employee that way and say, go do this report, and then leave. And you'd get back a report, and it may or may not be to your liking. But if you sat down for 5 minutes and discussed why the report's important, what the client is thinking, how you think it could help us, what to watch out for, the employee will come back with a better report.
Yeah.
And so it's the same thing with this. You have to give it the context of what you're thinking, and then it will use that as the jumping off point.
Yeah.
And then from there, it becomes iterative. You have to go back and forth a little bit, which some people don't have the patience for. They just want to input, output, run, when they could have dug deeper. And we'll get into that later.
Yeah, we'll peel that back in the second segment, but as we, anything else that, from where you are and what you want to elaborate on as we get closer to the first break. I know we got a couple minutes if you want to elaborate on maybe just, kind of that foundation that you're setting here, to help leaders break in at their own pace with ChatGPT.
Well, of course, there is an expense to ChatGPT unless you use the free version. Yeah. If my memory serves, the free version doesn't give you a lasting memory of what you worked on. It disappears later.
Yeah.
We were given a basic model that is paid model, which was called, I think, GPT Plus.
Yeah.
And that's a good foundational model to work with. But we've been blessed in our company, and I would encourage other executives where they can in knowledge working to do the same thing, which is to give the highest tier of access that you can afford to give your employees. Because the more you arm them with this technology, the more they'll get out of it. But that's only half the story. Then it comes to the behavioral aspects, which can be the toughest. The changing people's behavior to do some of the things I said earlier. Sounds easy, but it's not always easy.
Yeah, that's true. No, it's so true.
Changing one's habits. Yeah, changing one's habits is the sticking point for a lot of people.
Yeah, it is. And like I said, it's a process, and this is where, both, everybody involved, they have to, we have to strategize, communicate properly to make sure we're feeding what we have to in order to get what we have to get out of it to do those things, whatever we're trying to accomplish. Yeah.
So I would say start off making it everybody's personal assistant rather than trying to dictate a company-wide use. That is assuming you're in an industry where things are not heavily secured. Like I mentioned, medical and legal, there may be some others.
Yeah.
But if you're like us and you're just a firm that helps clients achieve things and there's no real restriction to the data, I would say just get people to use it as their personal thinking assistant. Yeah, that's the first step.
Absolutely. Well, Charles, this is great. I know you're going to do a deeper dive in the second segment. We got to go to break, everybody. But when we come right back, Charles is going to start to break down more how great leaders use ChatGPT, including the AI, to think in 3D. We'll be right back after the break.
What is balance? It's being true to your purpose and not being distracted by shiny objects, surrounding yourself with family and loved ones, nurturing your spirituality, maintaining healthy balance of emotional and physical wellness, and being present in the moment. Chris Salem creates awareness about unblocking mindset barriers for sales professionals, business leaders, entrepreneurs, and all types of people to have sustainable success at the next level. The solution evolves out of the problem or challenge. The issue is that many people and businesses manage the effect but do not address the root cause. You now have an opportunity to live your life and operate your business in the solution rather than the effect of your challenges. Schedule a time to chat about your goals and the person you desire to be by going to ChristopherSalem.com. We have group consulting calls, one-on-one, and other programs to assist you. It will be the best thing you do for yourself to see how sustainable success is possible for you in your life and business. Join us at the next level. Visit ChristopherSalem.com. Voice America is on LinkedIn. Connect with us today. You are listening to Sustainable Success with Chris Salem. Send an email to Chris at ChristopherSalem.com. Now, back to Sustainable Success.
Welcome back to Sustainable Success. We're talking about how great leaders use ChatGPT to think in 3D. We're here with Charles Corley. Again, we highly encourage you to check out Charles on LinkedIn. You'll be also getting his contact information here later in the show, so stick around as he has shared, some great insights setting the foundation for leaders and how they can now break into the area of ChatGPT to do more than just get some basic stuff, things that can strategically help you as a leader and your teams and organization really go to another level, using it in ways that you've never imagined. With that being said, Charles, let's go into a deeper dive from a behavioral standpoint. And I know this requires, maybe a process to do this. This is something you don't flip a switch and it just happens overnight. And how, leaders can now use that, behaviorally to do so many great things with their initiatives and objectives.
Yeah, I actually had to go back to school to learn some of this. I have been doing organizational development for a long time, but I had to go back and I went to Cornell to learn more about the behavioral side, psychology of leadership, organizational development, and change management, that kind of thing. Because a lot of this has to do with change. And once you move the cheese, all the mice are like, "Why the hell did you move my cheese?"
Yeah.
So the The crux of it is that everyone is going to use it differently, but they have to. I know it's not alive, and I know it isn't a person, but you have to develop a relationship with it. I know it sounds weird, but the best examples, and I'm going to focus mostly on ChatGPT because that's the broadest one and the one perhaps I use the most. And that is that it actually remembers you and remembers your preferences and understands you more and more the more you use it. Now, if that freaks some people out, you can turn that off. You just go to settings and say, forget everything, you don't know me, and it will forget everything and not know you. But it's actually a very useful thing. And at least at the time of recording this, they don't share that with anybody, and it's pretty secure. But it just, if you go in there, you can read what it remembers about you. So you can actually open that setting, and it says, Charles likes to talk about organizational development. Charles prefers this. Charles doesn't prefer to do that. So it learns a lot about everything that you do and wraps itself around your style and your knowledge. And I think once people get over the barrier, they start to feel that in the way they're interacting, and they start to realize, oh, this thing actually knows what I do for a living, and it knows my company now, and it knows the kind of work I do, and it's giving, like I could ask it for an example of how I might write a report, and or use a software or something like that. Like, how do I use the software to achieve this? And it will explain it to me like a tutor, but it will use examples from my industry that it knows I'm familiar with. So it does some amazing things like that. So I would say that first, we need to meet with the people, especially we're a team-based organization, so we have a lot of teams working on projects. Projects are unique, and they have a beginning and an end, and usually the outcome is quite bespoke for our clients. But even if you're doing some other process, you need to meet with the people and talk about how that group of people feel about it and give some interaction. I've tried putting what people call use cases in front of others to get them to change their behavior, show them this is what I did with it and this is the outcome. Isn't that cool? And they were great use cases, but it doesn't really stick. So what really sticks is when you get together with them and you do a live session. So you can actually say, okay, come into this meeting room or space and tell me what your issues are of the day or of the week. Let's upload that. Let's talk about that to ChatGPT, whatever that is. If you have photographs, let's upload the photographs. If you have a document or a letter or something that concerns you, let's upload that. Or if you just want to ask something. And so getting it to be relevant for them, for their current job and their current situation, their current concerns, and then use it live with you, as you're being sort of the safety wheels. That will help a lot of people overcome the stigma of how do I get started if they have that issue. Because really it's the jumping off point is using it for something that is concerning to you and not an example that somebody else has created that is of no concern to you. And a lot of the materials out there, which are done by these brilliant young people, have to do with marketing your channel or doing this or writing scripts for your YouTube videos and stuff. And so they're out there in social media and doing these things, but they're talking about subjects that are close to them. If you're an accountant or a professional of some kind, it doesn't matter what it is, you need to find the examples that resonate with you, and they can be whatever's on your desk right now. So that's where I would start.
Got it.
And then, yeah. So that's probably how you would first get over the stigma of how do I get started with it. But I think a lot of people are already using it. It's just that they're using it in a cursory way. I'd say that the other thing people are doing is underestimating its capabilities.
Yeah. Could you expand on that? Because I think, again, those are those preconceived assumptions and not realizing how could a tool that I'm paying, I don't know, $20 a month or whatever it is, how could it possibly be doing this? And, I can understand if I were paying like $20,000 a month or something like that, but how is it doing these things?
Well, it's been fed vast amounts of data. I think we've all heard the stories, and it's true. But it's got deeper understanding. Like one of the things it can do is understand patterns. And people assume that, well, that means if you feed it a huge spreadsheet full of data, it can understand the pattern in that data. And yes, that's true. I could feed it in information on a floor plate of an office showing the heat and the CO2 and all the parameters, and it would, for say wellness reasons, and it would be able to calculate and understand stuff there. But then it could actually give suggestions and say, well, this side of the room seems to be gaining more heat. Maybe this should be, and it could actually offer suggestions. But it can also do this in any other realm that you can think of. So if you have a technical problem, it could be your most knowledgeable engineer that you ever talk to. If you have an issue, even psychology. I had an issue where I had an argument with someone on WhatsApp. And so I screenshot on my camera my argument back and forth, the little bubbles, right? And I threw it into ChatGPT and I said, analyze this. Well, how do I resolve this without giving up my position? I don't want it to get worse. And it wrote a couple paragraphs of the most emotionally intelligent response. I couldn't even write that well. And I consider myself to be a good writer, but it wrote a beautiful, emotionally intelligent response. I cut and pasted that in. In 5 minutes, the person was like, yeah, okay, we'll try it your way for now, and maybe it can change later. So it resolved an argument for me. Then I realized that it not only has all the knowledge of the world in engineering and science and medicine, it also has all the psychology information of the world.
Yeah.
So I fed in a very detailed request for a proposal from a client that was not the usual cookie cutter type that you might receive, but something that was more nuanced because it was a competition. And I said, what are their concerns and their worries? What do they really want me to address? What are the underlying issues they're feeling? And it told me. It read into the data and the document what it could about what their underlying needs and concerns were beyond what was on the written page. And you could do the same for recording. Let's suppose you had a recording like this one, and you fed it in. It could say, it could give you the nuances about what people were maybe thinking or feeling to a certain degree, not perfectly, but it could say, yeah, from the language and the situation, it seems like this one's very worried whenever you talk about this subject, Yeah. So it's got all sorts of nuances. You can't underestimate it. It's really got a lot more. I mean, I was in a cafe the other day that was not well lit. I had a friend with me who had a grandmother who's like 90 years old. He pulled out her x-ray. Remember, this is a dimly lit cafe. He held it up, took a picture with his phone, and it gave the most perfect assessment of that x-ray and all the medical details of, what should be done. And it was really impressive. And so it's shockingly good.
Well, I can tell you, it's definitely helped in so many ways. The radiology specialty of medicine, it's really doing wonders in terms of radiology scans and improving processes and systems and making things more efficient. And thus, the byproduct of that is now creating better patient experiences as a byproduct of it. Oh,
yes. And then, so it can do that for any industry, and it doesn't matter if you're in architecture, engineering, or anything else. Let's get in a little bit into the 3D aspects.
Yeah.
We work in, Moser might be slightly unique in this sense that, and that's because I've been working on it for 12 years or more, but we do a lot of virtual design and construction, meaning we don't do your father's blueprints. We don't do that flat stuff as much. Everything is in an immersive 3D, what you see is what you get environment. And so we do this not only for the pretty pictures at the beginning to suggest some ideas for design, we do this all the way through in the development, in the engineering, and the construction. We're immersed in 3D. But now that we have this tool, we can take snapshots of that 3D environment and just upload it and discuss it with him. And it can identify anything. I uploaded a photograph of a bank dealing room, and I said, those large monitors hanging on the wall, are they in the right position for these dealing desks? Actually, I didn't even say they were dealing desks. And it said, oh, it looks like you're in a bank dealing room. And those monitors are hung a little bit too high for this, but they're okay for that. And it gave me an assessment of the design. And it could even read where all the air vents were and talked about the drafty areas or fire suppression or anything you can imagine. So it can read these images in 3D
Yeah.
and assess them very, very well. So this ability to be what we call multimodal is one of the great advantages that we didn't even have a year ago. Now you can upload photographs or images or even diagrams or anything, and it can read them. Mind you, it can't draw very well.
Yeah. I think it's learning to do that a little better, but yeah, it's still, yeah.
Yeah, it's terrible at drawing. There are other solutions for that, like Midjourney, which is very popular, and others that excuse me, that draw very, very well. You just type or describe what you want, and it will draw a beautiful image of the environment you want. You know, I want this cafe at sunset with these textures, and it will do it just by a written prompt. But those prompts need to be structured in a certain way. So you can even use GPT to help you with that. You can explain to ChatGPT or a similar model what it is you want to achieve, and it will write that detailed Midjourney prompt for you that you just cut and paste into Midjourney, which will then draw the beautiful picture. So for those of you who are familiar with Midjourney, you can try that. You probably, maybe and some of you already have. And if you're not, maybe you should play with that for the beautiful images. It's so easy to use. But there are many ways that ChatGPT can use ordinary photographs too. We can walk around construction sites, take pictures of anything during construction, and it can read everything beautifully. May I give an example?
Please do. Yeah.
Okay, let's suppose I did this. I went around something that was a few weeks from completion. The ceiling was not there. This is in a corporate office. And I photographed all the ductwork and pipes and everything up in the ceiling and all around. And I put them in. You can only put them in batches. I think currently it's about 10 at a time, but you can put in as many as you want. And by the way, there's very little limit to the number of documents you can upload to these things. I've uploaded as many as 80 documents at a time. You have to do them in batches, but you can upload a huge amount of volume of information, more than a human could read. So I asked it to look at the photographs and assess them and tell me how long it would take to complete the construction. And it did that, gave me a schedule. And then I said, well, could you break it down by trade? It did that. I said, well, how many workers would I need to achieve that? Which types of workers would I need? And it gave me all that. And so then I said, okay, how would I organize this on a daily, prioritization to get it done within these next 2 weeks? It filled in all of that beautifully. And I said, okay, but as that's going along, some workers the less technically sophisticated ones will be freed up and could help somebody else finish their task. So could we make it so that it's organized in such a way that these guys who are finished doing this job could go over and help those guys? I said, yeah, great idea. So then it goes in and it does that and shortens the time span to 10 days instead of 2 weeks and has it all laid out in graphs and charts and an explanation. And then I said, okay, the head of my construction is this person. Can you give him daily sheets that would help organize each of those trades, the plumbing, the fire services, the mechanical, the electrical, and list out what they need to do and estimate all their hours? And it did that. And so this guy could just take those lists and hand them out to each of those groups each day to keep them in. All that came from a handful of photographs.
Got it.
So that's the sort of thing I mean. But I've used it for more sophisticated things, but on any trade could do that.
Absolutely.
Because it can read the photographs and understand what it's looking at beautifully.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Really well.
Well, I know I want to, we want to expand a little bit on, that and as we come up to the next break here we're going to be going to the break here in 30 seconds. I just wanted to let everybody know that's listening. This is great information. We highly encourage you to go back, listen to this, both segments here that Charles had shared. Just a lot of great insights for you leaders. And again, you don't have to do this overnight or alone. Again, this is to, again, just start where you're at and just take it one step at a time. And I'm sure, as you get Charles' contact information here later, I'm sure he'll be able to help guide you in this process doing that. We got to go to break, everybody. When we come right back, we got more to come here with how great leaders use ChatGPT to think in 3D, and we'll be right back after the break.
What is balance? It's being true to your purpose and not being distracted by shiny objects, surrounding yourself with family and loved ones, nurturing your spirituality, maintaining healthy balance of emotional and physical wellness, and being present in the moment. Chris Salem creates awareness about unblocking mindset barriers for sales professionals, business leaders, entrepreneurs, and all types of people to have sustainable success at the next level. The solution evolves out of the problem or challenge. The issue is that many people and businesses manage the effect but do not address the root cause. You now have an opportunity to live your life and operate your business in the solution rather than the effect of your challenges. Schedule a time to chat about your goals and the person you desire to be by going to ChristopherSalem.com. We have group consulting calls, one-on-one, and other programs to assist you. It will be the best thing you do for yourself to see how sustainable success is possible for you in your life and business. Join us at the next level. Visit ChristopherSalem.com.
When it comes to business, you'll find the experts here. Voice America Business Network.
You are listening to Sustainable Success with Chris Salem. Send an email to Chris at ChristopherSalem.com. Now, back to Sustainable Success.
Welcome back to Sustainable Success. If you're just joining us, we're talking about how great leaders use ChatGPT to think in 3D. We're here with Charles Corley, an architect with over 30 years experience and the Director of Development for M. Moser Associates. Just has dedicated the last 3 years to apply generative AI. And again, somebody that really understands how the ChatGPT can be used by leaders to really do a lot more in their business. Again, our show is being brought to you today by Alumni Direct. Alumni Direct is a new social media community platform dedicated to bringing alumni together from all different generational types and an opportunity to meet new people for the first time. It also features now a new From Athletes to Entrepreneurs Corner. That is for professional athletes that are transitioning into everyday life, whether if it's going into a new career, buying a business, starting a franchise, whatever that is. You don't have to do it alone. You can form different groups where now you can come in and share insights and help each other in a more seamless way to make that transition. If you'd like some more information about that, check them out at alumnidirect.com. And they also feature a podcast dedicated to that area, From Athletes to Entrepreneur, where the CEO and founder of Alumni Direct interviews former athletes and their transition to entrepreneurship. Feel free to check them out again, alumnidirect.com. That's alumnidirect.com. Charles, you had shared so many great insights about the process, how it can alter different behaviors and what it can do to help anybody use ChatGPT more effectively, and how it can save us more time, make us more efficient, and really, and how it can, get better control over the priorities that truly matter. It's just a miraculous thing in what it can do. Share with us how it can really enhance leadership. So you got leaders now using it, but now how that's going to help the leadership aspect to really elevate that, and how it can elevate teams to whole new levels.
Well, assuming that they've gotten over the basics of their concerns of using it, which we've discussed in the first segment, and the understand just a little bit about the multimodal way you can upload things, which we discussed in the second segment, I would say leaders can then start focusing on making it part of the team. You can actually include a ChatGPT as a live component of your meetings. And so all around the room is let's call it your biological staff. And then you have your digital staff member there that you can feed into during the meeting itself. So right now, the best way to do that is through text. You would have it up on the screen and you would type in things as you go along the meeting. But it does have a voice mode too, albeit the voice mode tends to not understand the nuances of talking back and forth quite as well. Sometimes it'll talk over you or not realize that you're just taking a pause to yawn or something. So it can't quite gauge the nuances of the patterns of speech that well. But it does pretty good, and it's getting ever better every month. So right now, you could actually include it in voice as well. But I would say that the best way to do it is to have people interact with it during the meeting together as a team. You could also do things offline with it. I say offline, I mean offline with your team, not offline with ChatGPT, to organize yourself and organize your team in a much more robust way. And I think that includes issues concerning staff morale, the issues where you have to review people's work or figure out how to give them their annual assessment, or how to work with them on a day-to-day basis. It can help you resolve personnel problems, help you resolve issues of coordination between all your people and what they're assigned to and when they're going to finish and do the next thing. Just about anything. It's literally like your assistant to do any of those things and much more. So as we go along, I think what we're going to be seeing in the extremely near future, it's here now, but it's hard to use, is agentic AI. And that's coming up fast. And so as agentic AI comes up, you're going to have a more dedicated assistant to you in your pocket that can take actions, not just hear you and answer and discuss ideas with you, but can then actually go out there, use the computer, use the internet, and actually take actions for you. So right now, you might help it to formulate something, to create something, and then you send it to somebody. But later on, you could say, oh, take that and send it to someone, and it will go create a Dropbox account on its own and grab the thing and go send it. You know what I mean? Actually, it even tries now. If you ask it to send it to somebody, it says, okay, I'll go in and create a Dropbox account, and then I'll send it. And it goes off with the full intent, earnest intent of doing that. And it comes back and says, oh, Dropbox says it will only give me an account if I'm a human. It won't let me do it as an AI. So it is trying hard to do that, but it's going to be more seamless in the future. Right now, you can have any number of softwares that for a price, they've got a lot of these modules built in, all kinds of HubSpot and so many different ones. And there's Zapier, which can program easy-to-use automations as well.
Yeah.
But I think we'll see this happen more and more seamless with agentic AI in these next 6 months and beyond. But for now, this person just needs to mostly type in. You can get it on your phone, and you can use it as your assistant to think anything through. I've had a couple of top leadership have seminars where they had to stand up in front of an audience and give in-depth discussions about a certain topic, city planning or what have you. And they're like, oh, I've got 2 days to do this. What can I do? So I work with them with ChatGPT, and they pull together their presentation in a day. And even through that iteration, had a perfect outline of what they wanted to say, what they wanted to do. So, I mean, I'm talking off the cuff today, and we have limited time, but those people want to prepare properly because they might have more data and more insights. It also can help do deep research. They have a deep research function, and you can deeply research any topic. Now, that takes many minutes. So it will go away and research something for you extremely deeply.
Yeah.
Look at 40 or 50 sources. And it might take 10 minutes to come back. And then you get a pop-up message saying, okay, I've done my research. I'm ready to report back the results. And it's usually awesome.
Yeah, I found Perplexity is good with that too. I've used it.
Perplexity is great. Claude, all these ones. I'm only using the example of ChatGPT because that's the one I have the most powerful thing with. And so that's awesome too. But I would just say that the biggest thing they need to overcome is limiting themselves to what they think they can do with it.
Yeah.
They need to really move beyond that and say, assume that almost anything is possible. Well, except drawing, which we understand it sucks at drawing. But except for drawing, it can do virtually anything to some degree. And we always have to treat everything that comes out of it as a draft. Nothing is a final product.
Yeah.
It's just as if you have a junior employee and that person is really brilliant but easily confused. And so they do something for you, but they might get something wrong. And it might be such a good result that you might not even notice they're wrong about something. So you would have to double check what it comes out of it, just the way you would double check a junior employee.
It's amazing what you shared there. And so true. And you did it in a way that, didn't seem overwhelming, like that somebody, especially when they first hear this stuff, like, you're kind of, oh my God, I got to do all this stuff. But no,
It's
again,
fun. It's fun, actually. It's actually fun to
I
use.
agree. I know I did it, at first, like it could have been overwhelming, but I just took it step by step. I just said, hey, I'm just dabbling, I'm exploring. And then I found a way to, utilize it in a way that made me more effective. And I can tell you, it has. I mean, so many things in my business.
It increases value for your clients as well. And I know it has for ours. So let's suppose we have a client that needs a technical due diligence on a building they're considering leasing. We have to go in there and photograph it and analyze it, and then throw all that data into even just ChatGPT. We have apps we've created as well, but they're also connected to ChatGPT.
Yeah.
But you can just take ChatGPT and say, here's all the photographs, here's all the things we noticed, and put it all in there. And you'd be shocked at how great it is to put together a total deep analysis of something very technical like that.
Yeah.
In fact, when I did that, I had descriptions of the photographs, right? This one says AHU room, there's cracks on the wall, this thing, this pipe is rusty, whatever it is. And while I was assessing this building, it said, I don't really like your descriptions. They're not good enough. Do you mind if I rewrite them? And I said, sure, go ahead. And so it rewrote the descriptions. And so it's really amazing. And it's also starting to learn across several chats. So before, each chat was isolated. But if you use it deeply enough, I'm finding more and more that it can remember a number of chats. The memory is deeper now. So
like you said, on the paid versions, or even levels up. I mean, it definitely does. I mean, it can go. It can be. I wouldn't say always unlimited, but it is. No. It's a lot.
So I was working on something. I don't remember exactly what it was. I think it was a report for some restructuring of something, and it said, it suddenly stopped me in the middle of it. It says, what you're working on this would actually be very useful for this other thing you're working on over here. Yeah. So it knew that I was working on chat A about some topic, and it knew I was currently working on chat B about some topic, and it connected the two and said, the results of this would actually feed in very nicely to that. Yeah. And I was dumbfounded. I was like, how did it know that? Yeah. So it's scary good, but it's fun.
Wow, it's so true. I love it. I love what you shared. And in terms of the, what you just shared there with leadership, anything else that you want to elaborate on and how it can streamline, make leaders more efficient, or anything related to leadership in general?
Well, leaders, a lot of their efforts, a lot of their daily and weekly efforts go towards the care and feeding of their teams and their employees, not necessarily the work at hand. They have to, the focus, at least on ours quite often, is making sure that our individual project leaders are well supported. So you're often focused on understanding what your staff are doing, whether they're well supported, what their concerns are, whether or not they're able to achieve their objectives. And so with any of those things, you can bring it together in the conversation, and you can either record or discuss the thing and say, I'm going to record this and put it through ChatGPT, and then chat with it about that. And it would come up with some insights that you wouldn't have thought of.
Yeah.
It will often come up with things that didn't even cross. And we have this happen all the time, where we have architects, designers, engineers, and everybody doing quite elaborate, very technical things. You'd be amazed at the scale and degree to which we do things. And then it will still come up with some innovative ideas. So using it as a thinking partner, a deep thinking partner, iteratively back and forth, is the best thing you can do, and not just cut off the conversation too quickly. So I find that if the leader will bare their soul to it and tell it what they're really concerned about, what they're really thinking, then ChatGPT will help it better. For example, if you say, I need to create this report for a client, it will do it. Or I need to assess this, it will do it. But if I say, I need to do this for my client, but my client is very touchy, he's very worried about something, I need to reassure him that it's not a big deal. We can handle it, but he's like this, and I'm concerned about that. And if you told it the background, this is the prompting part of it. You have to tell it the background of what, not only what the facts are, but what your concerns are. And then once you bear your concerns to it, it will understand it at a much deeper level.
Well, Charles, this has been fantastic. And I know, God, I wish we could keep going on. And we definitely got to have you back on a follow-up to this topic, what you shared. And, you know, even if this was a video-based show, we could have showed some visuals that, like you said, and you're more than encouraged. We want the audience to find out more about that if they could reach out to you. We only have less than 2 minutes left in the show. How can the audience get in touch with you? What are you up to, and anything that you'd like to share or provide them?
Well, M. Moser Associates, which is a company I've been working with for over 20 years and has, I think it's 27 offices globally. It's just about everywhere. And what we work on mostly is workplace and architecture in just about every country deeply. And we've been in China and Asia for a long time, and very, very, very long time. We're talking 30, 40 years. And then also everywhere in Europe and the US and so on. I would say that we're the obvious choice for helping you think through complex, really important matters with regard to change in the workplace, strategy, everything. And these kind of tools can help us to serve our clients better. So we use them a lot, but they don't replace the intelligence and top level thinking. They augment the support, basically.
Great. Well, we want to encourage everybody to reach out to Charles, reach out to him on LinkedIn. Charles, thank you so much for your time today, especially coming from Singapore very early in the morning for you to share your insights with us here today on our show.
Well, I would love if they visit me on LinkedIn. Thank you so much.
Yes, absolutely. We encourage everybody, LinkedIn. We'll make sure all of that information is in the show notes. So this way you can reach out from the show notes directly with Charles for more information. Listeners, we want to thank you each and every week joining us here at Sustainable Success. Again, we are committed to bringing in subject matter experts like Charles in each and every week to share their words of wisdom and insights and experience to help elevate you and your business to the next level. Till then, everybody, have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you next Thursday at the same time. Take care.
Thank you for tuning into Sustainable Success. Be sure to join Chris Salem and his guests every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Time and 3 p.m. Eastern Time on the Voice America Business Channel. Have an incredible week.